Welcome back, genderless fever dreams, to the Wokipedia podcast. This is the second one. Probably going to do way more of these. I love doing these. And the subject of today is going to be the apocalypse. Or is it? Because I've heard so much fuss about how the world is completely destroyed. And we're completely destroyed and there's no hope. And everything's for nothing. And I'm here to tell you, well, I just don't see it that way. So, to begin with, I would like to validate, yes, mostly the world is partly destroyed, so there is a lot of validity to that claim, and all you need to do is look at the news, or look at the other alternative news that the other news are they don't want you to see, they're trying to prevent you from seeing, and look at places like China, where the ecology, the ecosystem's totally destroyed, the water is basically poisonous, and they're flooded with it, it's everywhere, so it's basically a write-off. And then you've got other places like Africa where there's still rampant slavery and militaries and tribal wars and all kinds of things. I mean, we haven't even started talking about the Arab states, Israel or America yet. And so, yes, you have to concede, even if you're a positive person like me, you have to concede the world is in a terrible state. But then it makes you think, well, when you think about our country here, our actual scenario here, we're the same as the world. We're ravaged here as well. Our country's in a right state. It's the worst it's ever been. But due to the democratic limits that we have, and the fact that nobody can fill that power vacuum, no one can just jump in and stage a military coup or take over the whole government, it's just impossible. So that means, even at this low ebb, we've still got democracy in most, for the most part. Even though the waiting lists and the queues are ridiculous, we've still got free healthcare and hospitals of a good standard, mostly. And even though our politicians are all lying, backstabbing scumbags, even still, they probably could squeak under the bar for being a basic, decent person. None of them are murderers, none of them are going around in gangs, none of them are human trafficking. And we see a lot of this abroad, especially at the moment in this kind of world depression that we're seeing, so ladies, gents and Pikachus, I'm here to tell you that even at our worst, we can still have hope. And the thing that you can recognise a democracy by is its stability. So if you think about it, what does stability do? Stability means you can wait out the crisis and then not die. When everyone else flakes out, starves, drowns, or whatever they do, panics and goes mad, gets shot in the back by a police officer, whatever it is that they do, if you're in a stable country, you can survive all of that without being too involved in it. And I really think that's what we're experiencing in this country at the moment. Yes, okay, things are terribly bad, and they're the worst they've ever been. But even so, they're still better than most places in the world. And they're still absolutely tolerable to live and work in. You're going to get stuff done, you're going to get your life done still. You're not in any particular threat of dying. And as I myself have recently experienced, free speech still exists. Yes, the corners are a bit dog-eared and chewed. Your videos might get taken down. You might get a block for a few hours. You can't call for Xi Jinping to resign. And that's democracy. But I mean, look at the rest of the world. You can say and do what you please here within reason, and that's democracy. Whereas the rest of the world would love to wake up and have that. They would literally love that. But they've got no hope of ever getting that. Certainly not for now, unless democracy rolls in. Of course, when I say when democracy rolls in, I proudly mean when America's military roll in. This is another thing, they don't get enough credit. People hate on America and Americans for all kinds of stupid, spurious, silly little reasons. But what they don't seem to recognise is that without America's military tromping about the world with machine guns, or whatever meme you want to use, all the trade routes to this country would be shut. All our prices would be 10 times as much. Nobody would be able to go abroad without the fear of being robbed and shot. The world would be in absolute chaos, way worse than it is now. So, abroad, China, North Korea, these kind of places, they are told to hate America. For that very reason, they're told, don't you dare sympathise with Americans because we don't want them to come and help you to freedom and help you to have your own democracy and effectively kick out our regime. They point to Westminster and they point to the White House and they say, look at those crooked bureaucrats over there, they're just criminals, they can't stop suing each other and taking each other to court. Or they may show their military diversity and inclusion videos from our military, fat trans women Marines, effectively, and think, well, we're fighting these guys, we'll definitely win. But we survive it. That's what I'm trying to say. Because of our stability, our democracy, even though we're being trampled all over, we have a nice solid metal helmet above us, which is being trodden on, and we're nice and safe underneath it, complaining about pieces of rust hitting us in the head. Well, I'm going to use my democracy and my free speech, and I'm going to say a big thank you, first of all, to America for giving me this protection and giving my country and the trade routes that I use and the services I rely on protection, making sure that stuff stays up and running and ticking and doesn't get ripped off or destroyed by the various criminal governments and despots of the world who hate us. They'd love nothing more than to see our democracy completely crumble so they can rush in and hoover up the crumbs. Or maybe take a load of surveillance photos and then churn out a bunch of clone copies, cheap, horrible copies of all the stuff that our country spent years and money to make. And at the end of it, they're just so jealous, aren't they? I mean, China, for all their big words, for all their big talk and their aggressive behaviour, look at them. Their government is terrible. Everyone knows it. Everyone who's got any sense, sorry, Stanley Johnson, this doesn't include you. Anyone with any sense and power of observation can look over at China and go, right, real estate is destroyed. The stock exchange is destroyed. The economy is destroyed. There's no gross domestic product at all. No income, no exports, no production. The people are starving and they're about to riot and the leader is in hiding. But I'm sat here talking about it. That's democracy. Wait, 3 cheers for America, 3 cheers for democracy. God save the king and all that. I'd love to say that to all the Just Stop Oil guys and the feminism protesters and stuff. It's like, guys, the thing that you're protesting about and the system that you're saying is a patriarchy that you want to destroy, that's the only reason that you're allowed and able and safely doing the thing that you're doing now. Standing and criticising and having a go at people with police protection that you don't have to pay for. No one's going to knock on your door and arrest you tomorrow. You won't get beaten up for it. The worst you can hope is that you don't get slagged off on social media or have the wrong pronoun applied to you. That's democracy! That is democracy, ladies, gents and Pikachus. The wonderful thing that it is. Obviously, it is not perfect all of the time. A more ideal scenario could be imagined. Yes, it's true. But I mean, it's easy to say that. That's like me. I could say to a person who doesn't like me or criticises me, well, I can find a better person than you, with a better opinion than yours, with a better degree than yours, who's smarter than you, who's better than you, and I'll just listen to them. Unfortunately, that would also be democracy, because we have a freedom of choice. We can use our free speech to slag people off and say mean things, and we can use our democratic freedom to be absolute idiots if we desire. And as you know, plenty of people do. But it doesn't mean that we can't complain about them. We should be able to complain about them, and we do complain about them. And it doesn't mean that they should be lauded for doing this. They shouldn't be encouraged, they should be punished. But it should all be done fairly, and people's rights should be conserved. That is democracy. Being a Christian. Such a rare thing today to be a real faithful Christian. But even that, my human right to be a Christian and believe what I believe, that is only... You only really get that in a democracy. Like no other countries outside of democracies will offer you that. They'll claim it. But I mean, just look at what happens. That's it. The proof is in the tasting of the pudding. You go and ask anyone in any other country about religious freedom and tolerance, and then you'll find the reason why they all want to come here and live here in this beautiful place, even at its worst. So, ladies, gents and Pikachus and all others, we're coming up to the conclusion now, which is, yes, it's destroyed. But yes, we can have hope as well. It's not always going to be destroyed. It isn't destroyed so badly that it can never be rebuilt. And the only way it will be rebuilt is if we survive the crisis using our stability, which we do have, our latent stability. And then when things quieten down a bit, we can poke our heads out, batten up the hatches, and get to work rebuilding things. So with tools like VR, AI, all this new technology, that's certainly going to help, but the main thing we need is people power. Human beings, ladies, gents and Pikachus. So, hope you enjoyed that, and I've motivated you to go off and have a good day. be proactive, positive, and don't be an arsehole. So enjoy your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Bye, 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 bye.